this second block. Did we start with Arnold and Maher? Did we start with this French guy who thought he was very popular with this maid in New York? Where do we start?
Well, I guess Arnold looks a lot better because his was consensual.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to go after the household help, get a yes first. I think is the
well, it's a 10-year-old story, but it was held, as they like to say, embargoed, right, as we say in our business. Is this public? Is this something we should even be talking about?
Well, first of all, it should not be a giant surprise. When Arnold Schwarzenegger ran for governor out here, you remember this, it was only about 7 years ago, I think it was something like 15 women came forward to say he at least groped them. 15? Even Arnold had to say, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. I remember there was film of him groping women. He was on some sort of movie junket in Europe.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when you're doing it on camera, Chris, chances are you have an illegitimate child off camera. Okay. I'm just saying.
You remember what Groucho Marx said? What are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Right. So let me ask you about this this thing. Do you think it's political? I mean, the guy didn't do anything on public time. He didn't do anything with a public employee. It wasn't like Clinton. He didn't lie under oath. He told the story eventually.
Are we talking about Arnold?
Yeah, Arnold.
Oh, okay.
Is this a political story? Does it say anything about American politics? Can people, you know, we went through this with Clinton, you and I. Can you compartmentalize and say, yeah, but he's great on fiscal policy. Yeah, he had a great foreign policy. He kept us out of war. But Bush, clean marriage, but a war we should have never fought.
Well, you can do that, but not in America. You can do that in sophisticated countries. We are not one of those. We are a childish country, and if somebody has their pee-pee in the news, then it's going to be the top story for a lot of people. I mean, many people never accepted Bill Clinton because they said things like, if he cheats on his wife, what would he do to the country? You know, like he's going to start working for Belgium instead of us. You know, they conflate cheating in your personal life or somehow being immoral.
But Clinton has turned out to be, and I was wrong on this, overinflating it in terms of his story, I think, but he did have the problem with the law, of course, in the impeachment process. But, you know, he's turned out to be this incredibly good guy on solving the diseases of the world, fighting malaria, fighting AIDS, doing all this great stuff in Africa.
And an effective president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did an editorial on our show recently about, and the theme of it was, just tell me the rule. Because John Edwards, for example, had a child with his mistress. Newt Gingrich left his wife when she was had cancer. Newt Gingrich did the same thing. How come John Edwards is the worst man ever, and Newt Gingrich gets to run for president? Newt Gingrich has the moral compass.
Because the Democrats shoot their wounded and Republicans run them next time.
Right.
You know the way it works. You know, that's why I think Newt could actually... The Republican Party is a weirdly politically forgiving party of their own people. Nixon, how many times? 5 times?
Right.
And Newt's back. Do you think he can actually win, Newt?
No, of course not. Because, first of all, people don't want to look at him. For very good reason. I mean, that's not often said out loud. But, you know, he's ugly inside, and what's not mentioned is that he's also ugly outside.
Do you know my theory about him? He can't be the devil because he looks like the devil.
Yeah.
The devil's supposed to look like Marilyn Monroe. You know that.
You know, whenever people talk about Newt, the first thing out of their mouth is, yes, he has these family problems and these moral problems, but, you know, he's this brilliant man.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
The press release.
He's a professor. He's a professor of idiocy. He has never, ever been a brilliant man. And I said this on our show last Friday. He proved it on Sunday when he did this flip-flop you were just talking about.
Yeah, he was for the president's plan for requiring you to have health insurance until Monday.
Right.
And then he wasn't for it because somebody said, do you know what you just said? You said Obama's right. You can't say it's right.
He made the case for them without even knowing it. He's not a bright guy. Not that America cares.
How about blaming Gregory for being some tricky, clever lefty, secretly planning to get him?
Who?
David Gregory on Meet the Press.
Oh, yes. Well, this is the Sarah Palin defense. Katie Couric was tricking me by asking me what I read.
That's a curveball. So what's going to happen at the end of all this? Obama wins next year. You aren't sure because you're a prognosticator in your own way too.
Well, I certainly would bet on Obama at this point. First of all, I think by killing bin Laden, he finally won over middle America. And when I say middle America, I mean white people. You know, there's nothing that says I'm a real American more than shooting somebody in the face. Apparently, he had a license to kill stapled to the back of that birth certificate, and that's what they needed to hear. And
can you imagine if the Republicans had 9/11 happen on the Democrats' watch and they caught bin Laden?
well, that's
Can you
what,
imagine how it would have been spun?
that's what I said last week. I said, Republicans, just tell me what you're good at, because you always run on, you're the party that's strong on defense and fiscally responsible. Well, plainly, you're not fiscally responsible. Most of this debt that we're so concerned about, the Bush wars, the Bush tax cuts for the rich, the prescription drug program for old people, and the recession, which was mostly the fault of Republican deregulation.
Right.
So you're not fiscally responsible. And on defense, you didn't get bin Laden. Bush had 7 years to get
You
bin
let him
Laden.
go.
He didn't get him. He got Wesley Snipes.
Tora Bora.
Right. 9/11 happened on your watch, and then you attacked the wrong country. So if you're not good at defense,
He
and
got
you're not
Wesley
good at-
Snipes on taxes, right?
That's what
I
I'm
almost
saying.
missed that one. Yeah.
if you're not good at either one of these things, if you suck at the two things you're supposed to be good at, that your selling points are, why are we voting for you? I understand why 1% of this country, the richest 1%, votes Republican. You'll have to explain to me the other 40 or 50%. that
So
they
you're
get.
just the bottom line is you're talking about the Republican Party being this party, the indoor party and the outdoor party. The indoor party is the party of Mitt Romney and the business
Yes,
suits.
right.
The suits outside of the crazy people, the wild
Right.
people, the Tea Party people. But there's going to be kind of a Rosemary's Baby kind of thing going on in Tampa next year. They're going to have a father. You're not sure who it was, right? It's going to be, but when that baby's born, only the mother's going to love that
That's so
kid, right?
funny.
Who's this nominee going to be?
It's so funny you said. I used to always ask people who were strong, pro-life people, what if it's Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
What,
It's the
just
devil's
as a
kid.
dilemma,
Yeah, what is it, Gross?
you hate abortion in every circumstance.
I
What
think
if
you're
it's the
picking-
devil?
I think you're
and they'd be
picking
like, oh wow,
I think you're picking a point here.
Yeah,
So bottom line here, is the president going to win, and who's he going to beat? Who's
Please.
the nominee? Come on, make a pick.
Lamar Alexander. No, seriously, they need somebody like that, who's like Huckabee, who can unite both wings. I mean, I think, as knowing the Republican Party, who picks like the oldest person
They
whose
do.
turn it
Who's
is.
lost many
it's like a
times.
gold watch, you
Yeah.
know. So I predict Lamar Alexander and Orrin Hatch.
Do you know in
would
the
be
past
ticket.
60 years, going back to 52 to 2004, 3 names were on the ticket every single time except one. Nixon,
Oh yeah.
Bush, and Dole.
George-
One of those 3 names was on every single ticket. They liked the dead.
George Bush Jr. used to run on being a Washington outsider, even though his family had a key to the White House for like most of the last.
Okay, let's turn
30
over the
years.
pillow, the fresh side of the pillow. You can't sleep. Who would you most like to cover on real time on Friday nights at 11? Who would you most like to be the strongest candidate between now and the Iowa caucuses? I mean, get out there and really make noise against Obama. Who would you like to cover?
Well, I mean, it's been a tragedy this last week for comedians because, you know,
lost Trump.
Huckabee and Trump, who had more in common than you think. I mean, Trump was a major real estate investor, and Huckabee just added a second hole to his outhouse. So
He
I was
actually bought
looking.
a house in Florida. That's why he started running.
I mean, this guy, you know, he was going to be the country jokes. Trump was going to be Green Acre jokes. It's a shame. And
Okay,
you know,
Bachman, my hunch is Bachman gets in. My hunch is Bachman wins the Western Conference. That she gets the Tea Partiers go crazy for
yeah,
her. No
I think so,
competition.
because I think they're over Palin. And Bachman is the candidate for people who find Palin too intellectual.
Thank you, Phil Maher.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Real time Friday night. We'll be right back.